All right, so I want to show you how to edit one of the spirographs. I'm just going to go get an image right now. It doesn't mean that this isn't necessarily where your images will be when you're watching this video, but for now, this is where I have them. They're in my advanced digital photo period 7 digital photo 2 class under spirographs. Okay, so there's a couple different images that I'm actually going to edit. The first one is this one here. I'm going to go ahead and open that. I'm going to open the CR2 file. Okay, so what you're going to want to do on this is adjust it um, for the inside part of the spirograph, but then also we want to consider the outside of the spirograph. Okay, so right now the inside of the spirograph is a pretty good exposure. We could even you know, actually it's a pretty good exposure. So I'm gonna maybe bring it up just a tad. I'm gonna give it a little bit of contrast, not highlights. I'm gonna add a little bit of contrast. I'm gonna bring the highlight down just a little bit. I'm gonna kind of look at the shadows, maybe adjust the shadows up just a tad. The whites, bring that down, bring the blacks down just a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of texture. And if we want to zoom in on this, we can go plus down here and we can really look at that a little closer. That might be helpful. I'm going to bring the texture up a little bit and I'm going to add a little bit of clarity and a little bit of dehazing, which will give it a little bit of sharpness, maybe a little more texture. Add a little bit more vibrance, saturation. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open that image. This little blue dot, we're gonna wanna get rid of that. That is actually on the ceiling, and what happened is that because it was on the ceiling, it shows up in our image. Okay, so now we're gonna open the same file again, but this time we want to just look at the outside edge of the image. Okay, so we're gonna maybe zoom in just a little bit, but and we're going to bring the exposure up, which is going to allow us to look at the outside edge. And we can see this glitter stick in blue. It's pretty cool here, and we want to show that. Now, when it comes to these other settings, we may want to keep them the same in regards to the texture and the clarity and the dehazing. Maybe bring the dehaze up just a little bit more. And the vibrance and saturation. Okay, now obviously the center is way too overexposed. So we're going to combine these two images. Okay. All right, so we're going to go to select all, edit copy, and we are going to then do a edit paste. And then we're going to add a layer mask to that. And we are going to remove black over white. We're going to remove this part here because we do not want this overexposed center. Okay. But at the same time, we don't want all this weird pixelated stuff on the sides either. So if I zoom in, you can see all this weird pixelated stuff. Now, so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna crop this image a little bit. I'm just gonna crop it, and I'm gonna get rid of some of the extra area that I don't need, and bring this up just a little bit. Okay. Now you may want to do this on your image. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a solid vignette of black. I'm going to click on that white layer mask there, and I'm going to go in with a nice good size brush. I'm going to go down to about 50% opacity, and I'm just going to get rid of that weird kind of almost reddish color that was coming through. I'm just gonna zoom in on this. We don't want any pixels, okay? We don't want any pixelization, so we wanna get rid of that stuff. So I'm just gonna kinda reverse this so it's white over black, and I'm gonna clean up these edges here a little bit. Just got a little bit of pixelization still going on in the oh yeah. And now what I want to do is I want to get rid of this blue thing here, which I believe I'm going to have to do on this background layer here. So I'm going to go in with my little clone stamping tool, get rid of that. Up. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be this layer. Okay, and there we go. That is one way to do this. Now, there's another way I want to show you, and that is if you want to combine two images, I'm going to come back here to Spirographs. I am going to open this image here. This is a pretty nice one. I'm going to bring the exposure down a little bit here in the center so that the center is not as exposed. I'm going to give it a little more contrast. Bring the blacks down and give it a little bit of texture, a little bit of clarity, a little bit of dehazing, and then some vibrance and saturation. Go ahead and open that image. And I'm going to open that same image again. This time I'm going to bring the exposure up just a little bit for the outside edge. I'm going to zoom in on that because I really don't want to get any weird pixeling going on here. I might adjust the clarity, dehaze just up a little bit, exposure up just a tad bit. And I'll open this image. You can see how much brighter that is. I'm going to go do a select all, edit copy, and then I'm going to go back to this image and do an edit paste. And I'm going to add a layer mask to that. And I'm going to zoom in on that with the cropping tool and kind of centering the center there. And I'm going to get rid of that blue light that's there that is distracting my image. And now I'm going to open up another one. Okay. 31. And what I'm going to do with this one is I'm also going to adjust it. So I want the outside, but I I'm really going to be careful that I don't get that weird pixel because on the sides on the right because I really don't want that pixel. So I'm going to bring this exposure actually down just a little bit. Bring the blacks down a little bit and texture up, clarity up, dehaze up a little bit, vibrance, saturation. I'm going to open this image. Going to go and open that up again. This time I'm going to bring the exposure down so it's more for the center part of the image. Open that up. I'm going to do a Control All, Control C, Control All, Control C for copy. Go back to this image and I can do a Control V, which is paste. And then again, I'm going to add a layer mask and combine these images. Nope, that's not the way I want it. So I want this to be in the middle, but then I want the outer edge to be a little brighter. So I'm just going to make this just a little bit brighter on the outer edge here. With the middle a little bit darker. Okay. Then I'm going to go in with my tool and I'm going to get rid of that little blue light that keeps showing up in every image because of the light that's in the ceiling. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this image, but first I'm going to merge these layers together. So I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to select both these layers and I'm going to do merge layers. And then I'm going to do a select all, edit, copy, and I'm going to come up to this image here that I was working on earlier, and I'm going to do a Control V, and I'm going to paste that in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to move it into the center of the image, like this. I'm going to check mark that, and then I'm going to do a lighten blend, and I'm going to put that newly edited image right here in the center. It's going to be kind of a smaller design that I have here in the center where I have like this black circle. So it allows me to kind of combine some images. And I'm going to add that there just as another creative idea. Okay. So play around with this. You may end up just doing one image, kind of like this, but you may end up doing another image where you actually combine multiple images into um, to create one final image, but you may end up using two different images.